Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for attending the webinar today. Today, I want to talk about some classroom-ready SEL tactics that we can use to support and improve student behavior. We're really going to look at it from the lens of a counselor's perspective and how you can share some of these tips and tactics with teachers to empower them and to provide them with the confidence that they can start seeing the connection between these tactics and the positive behaviors from the students as a result of implementing these tactics. So that's what we're going to go through today. It's going to be pretty relaxed. I think we'll spend maybe 20 minutes to 30 minutes and we'll have some time for Q&A afterwards. So why SEL matters for behavior? We know that behavioral issues in the classroom often stem from skill deficits and not defiance. And I think that's a really key point to share with everyone that's here today and for our wider listeners. I see this often where it's difficult for classroom teachers to connect the dots between the behaviors and the lack of skills that these students have. So some examples STEM are related to self-awareness, emotion regulation, conflict resolution skills. So these are all things that we can practice with students and give them opportunities to practice these skills. We know when they get better at these things, we have fewer disruptions, we have stronger student-teacher relationships. So we're going to go into the details, but there's lots of research that shows that the short-term benefits of improving student behavior through developing SEL skills really does work. As I touched on, we're really going to be looking at it from a counselor perspective. We know counselors today are stretched, and if we really want to make a difference and really move the needle across the school building or the school district that we're working in, we know that we're going to have to get the support and buy-in from classroom teachers. They're the ones that are in the trenches. They're the ones that can really make a difference outside of the work we can do with the limited resources and time that we have. So we're really going to encourage counselors today to see themselves as SEL coaches and walk away from today's session with some tactics on how they can support their teachers. So let's look at tactic one. So this is a really easy one, emotion check-ins. And you can do this in many different ways. And it could simply be a question at the start of the lesson or at the end of the lesson. Something like, how are you feeling today? What do you need to be ready to learn? Asking a simple question like this and getting a pulse of actually how students are feeling can really give you incredible insight into how you can approach the rest of the lesson. And so, yeah, you don't need to use any kind of fancy tools. You can use sticky notes. You can use Google Forms. There's lots of different ways to do this, but actually doing it consistently can really make a difference, and it can really help to de-escalate issues early, normalize emotions, and it's another opportunity to build that teacher-student connection. From our experience, this certainly works better with elementary and middle schools. And depending on the cadency and the speed and the cadence and the occurrences that you do it, it's probably better maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks at high schools. Let's move on to tactic two. So I call this predict and pre-teach. And it's really about encouraging teachers to pre-teach expected behaviors before high risk transitions or group work. So think of it like at any point in your lesson, you're going to have different types of transitions. Try to really think about how we can make those really, really smooth and be able to keep students on track. So could be things like when we get into groups, um, uh, remind the students that if we get into groups, you may have two or three things that you always want to remind them about. And so it's re-emphasizing those same points to create routines can really make a difference. And it's really about preparing students to manage stress and peer interaction. And again, I just touched on it, but without sounding like a broken record, reinforcing expectations before challenges arise. Tactic three, I call this conflict scripts and sentence starters. So, many students act out because they don't know or they don't have the words to handle conflict. They find it difficult to express themselves or they just don't have the vocabulary. So, equipping teachers with sentence starters, and these could be little flashcards. This is particularly helpful for middle schools, grade six, where having these to hand and being able to share them with classroom teachers can really make a difference. Um, and it will certainly save classroom teachers time. But once they start using these types of scripts, they'll start to recognize that actually um, the students are behaving this way because they're frustrated and they might not have the skills to communicate effectively. So this can really, really help. Tactic four, um, I've called it here micro moments of relationships. There's probably a better name than that in hindsight, but it really comes down to how do you make time to build strong relationships in the classroom with your students? And if you understand the students better, you have more empathy towards them, um, you understand their needs more effectively, then classroom management does become easier. So we can encourage teachers to use like 30-second micro moments to build trust. You could ask a student about their weekend, you could compliment their art, and you can also positive reaffirmation and encouragement when they are improving. When this is done when this is done in an authentic way, it really can uh, build up positive momentum. And over time, you will see a big difference. They will start to listen to you more. They will start to engage more because they feel safe, and in an environment where they're valued, and their voice is heard. So again, uh, these things are not difficult to do. Um, they do require patience and they do require you to practice doing them consistently in order for you to really start to get a benefit as a result. Tactic five is really the use or using the language of SEL. And so how can we model SEL language to reframe behavior has a chance of skill building? I've got a couple of examples here, and I touched on it earlier on. But you could say things like, instead of why are you acting out? Maybe you could try, it looks like you're frustrated. Let's figure out what you need right now. Another example could be, you need to calm down. Instead of saying that, you could try, let's take 3 deep breaths together and check in. Now, that second example, you can see in some environments it's not going to be possible to do that. Um, but there are many examples like this where, as you start to reframe in your own minds that uh, these are opportunities for students to uh, skill build, that can make a really big difference in terms of how you approach that particular behavior scenario in your classroom. And of course, this will really help students build emotional vocabulary and self-regulation over time, which is managing their emotions more effectively. So I would say, in summary, like it's there are many opportunities to build like teacher confidence. You don't have to be an expert in SEL. You just have to be really willing to try. And I think um, as counselors, we do this anyway. Um, it's something that's sometimes it may feel like it's not enough, but it's something that we just got to keep finding small ways to get teachers to reframe and really think about recognizing when children misbehave, it's often because of a lack of skills, right? They struggle in these areas. And I think if we can do it in small steps, small nuggets, provide consistently useful resources, tactics, which require very little effort to start using and practicing, then hopefully you will start to see that adoption um, and a larger group of teachers starting to model these things, which can make a really big difference. So that's it really. It's quite a short Q&A today. I tr really wanted to focus on some practical examples that you can follow up with, you can share with a small group of teachers or different teachers where you know that they may be struggling. And they have students in their class that would benefit from these types of techniques being implemented. So we'll follow up with everyone that's attended today. We'll give you a copy of the presentation, and we also have like a bonus activity sheet, which includes a list of small activities that require no planning that you can start to use very, very quickly, which covers the broader social emotional skills. So yeah, thanks so much for attending today, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Bye.